Public Access America bonus talking about the state of
vaccinations
and
That's what bugged me
movie
is that
theaters and Black Widow and
last week our conversation after recording could have been an episode of Public Access America.
Oh, it sure could.
But I didn't record it, so
could.
that kind of bugged me. Jay is up for announcing today, by the way.
Got it. Good. I'm in a quiet space, so it's all good.
Hold on.
Make sure this door is locked. Yeah.
All right, you good?
all right, I'm gonna get ready.
Yay!
I know what you did, Ezrick. I already know what you did.
Check. No comments in the chat yet. Check.
All right. We set?
Sure, it's all you.
Welcome to Inspirations Beyond Disability, the show where 4 disabled individuals talk about the topics that impact our world. It's real topics in real time. My name is Jay. I am one of your hosts. I remember at one point we were supposed to be doing like an aesthetic description. So internally, I'm built like a Ferrari, but externally, I'm built like a school bus. And I am not alone. Joining me on this panel of pontificating gentlemen is one of my good friends, Dave Moore. Tell you, Dave, how you doing, man?
I'm fantastic, Jay. If anybody's wondering what I look like, it's a lumberjack with lack of a flannel shirt at the moment and no hair on the top of my head, but everywhere else completely covered.
Also joining me on this panel today is New York's blindest blind in New York, Ezrick. What's going on, man?
Not much. Chilling. Just
Chilling.
And as for description, I guess half dad bod, half slim.
So basically a
short
Slim
as
Jim.
hell. Short as hell.
We just want to know which half is which. That's all I want to know.
And lastly,
that.
And lastly, joining me is the CEO himself of Public Access America, the one, the only, the godfather of this all. Jason, how are you doing today?
I am doing so good, Jay. And I'm a combination of Bill Gates and Michael Phelps.
Wow.
Can you run that fast?
I can swim that fast, but don't ask me.
I keep forgetting he's a swimmer. I don't know why I keep thinking Michael Phelps is a runner for some reason. Everybody in the Olympics runs to me for some reason.
I can outsmoke Michael Phelps.
You can what?
Outsmoke Michael Phelps. He got caught with a bong. That's why he got suspended.
Oh,
wow.
Wait, this year?
It's the season for Olympic. No, years ago. It's the season of the Olympics, though. You know what I mean? So
Anybody watching any Olympics? I watched some handball. I barely remember playing handball as a kid because every sport is just a thing where there's a ball that hits me in the face a lot.
That's all of us.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But you know what makes me mad about the Olympics? I didn't find out until I got on TikTok that there was ever such a thing. So I did Special Olympics as a kid. I did the 100-yard dash. I got a silver medal, and I did the standing broad jump, which angers me to this day because I should have got a gold, but they didn't let 2 other kids follow the rules, let them fall on their butt, and because they fell on their butt, they got gold and silver. But I did not know that there was a thing called the Paralympics.
Wow.
I did not know you could actually compete First off, the fact that I found out, I forget, there's several TikTokers who actually compete in blind soccer in the Paralympics. And I was like, wait, you could have did this for martial arts? Do you realize I could have actually competed on a world stage? I feel like I'm too old now, but I wish I knew about that because I would have done that 10 years ago.
It still would have taken a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment.
Which is fine by me because I think that would have been something that would have been really cool to do because I always thought like the typical Olympics, like, you know, there's no way sight-wise in the world I'm going to be able to compete, you know, against somebody who's got like 1,000% better vision than I do. But like,
wait
in the
a minute.
Paralympics,
right there. What's funny is they won't let you. I don't have any doubt though that if you wanted to, you would accomplish it. I just don't think people would expect you to be able to accomplish it. So when you say I would never be able to do it, remember you could do it, but I don't think anybody would let you or give you the chance. You know what I mean?
I think if you prove, like, there's a lot of things. Well, that's a whole other topic.
Could you not shot put? Could you not run in a straight line
and just throw a thing straight?
Yeah.
You know?
Could you not just throw a javelin?
There are so many nightmares I think about when it comes to that. Like, can you imagine if you throw it just a little diagonal?
If you did it 50 times in practice, you could do it.
Oh, yeah, you could absolutely get perfect
Definitely.
form. You could absolutely get perfect form.
So actually interesting topic. So the school that I went to was the high school that I went to was a school for the blind.
Mhm.
Hi,
And
Jasmine.
one thing that I learned was
Always here.
Sorry.
like clockwork.
Jasmine, come to my shows on the Snack Network. You're always in the chat. Come hang out with us on Tuesday mornings.
Right.
We're
I don't
just
think she
talking
just
to
wants to
ourselves.
sit there and get hungry.
You're true, fair.
Like I think we value our sanity.
What did you say, Ezrick?
Sorry, I totally.
No, I started it. I'm sorry. It's my bad.
God, you can't do this to a pothead.
School for the blind.
I mean, Jasmine
okay.
and I have been having some great discussions on Instagram, you know, and so I just wanted to say hi to her. She's my friend, and I like her now.
No, you're good. You're good. She's cool with me too. So, school that I went to was a school for the blind, and I knew about goalball, and I knew track and field was a thing. Like I was on the track. Well, I didn't make the track team, but I tried out, and one of my favorite things was running. I suck at jumping. I'm okay, but throwing I enjoyed. I wouldn't say I was great, but I was decent. I had potential. And one thing that I feared was, possibly hitting somebody. But the funny thing is one day, partially the reason why I got kicked off the team, which I think is stupid, was the coach put one of the MVPs, like one of the, the people that have been on the team for like, a minute and has like real skill. He put him to coach, and he went out into the field to catch. So this is the funniest and stupidest thing on his part. You're going to put the blind person, to teach and then catch what you're throwing back after the student has thrown it.
Right.
So now what happened was, in this instant, coach throws the ball back for the student to go another round with the person that he's coaching. And this ball goes past him and hits this girl that I'm just sitting and talking to in the throwing pit. Like we're not in, because it's a circle that you sit around, and one person stands at the edge and starts throwing from the edge.
Okay.
And just like, nonetheless, I knew about Olympic sports. I didn't know that certain ones, like Jay was saying, what was it? Martial arts. I didn't know that was in the Paralympics.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
I can't remember off the top of which one it is. But there's a blind talker who goes to the Paralympics every year for judo. And I'm like, number one, martial arts is my thing. I absolutely love martial arts. But two, I didn't know you could compete on a world stage and do that.
Right.
Especially as a blind or visually impaired person. So if I'm not too old, I'd like to actually try that. Like, well, by the time I'm probably ready, I'd definitely be too old at that point, but like I would have loved
cracking hips and shit.
Listen, fine by me. Listen, as long as I can crack a medal with it, I'm fine. Like I've always wanted to compete on that stage. Like I've always wanted to be world champion of something. So that is crazy. I've seen the thing that talked about the I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, the one assistant for like 33 people at like the Paralympics,
because we never discussed it.
We never did.
No.
Yeah, we just brought it up in the chats, and I remember I was saying that I think it's because of one, COVID restrictions, obviously, and
even with COVID restrictions, 1 to 33.
I think that was now because of COVID restrictions. I don't think that was in the past. Because I feel
that's how they're justifying, but it is absolutely disgraceful that they assume that's how they can run this. It's wrong, and it's just stupid.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree. I'm not justifying it. What I'm saying is I think they didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Considering they're going into another country that they don't have much control over.
But in this scenario, they are limiting people in a specific case of people with disabilities who need aids for all sorts of other things that are not related to the sports they're competing in, right? And they're putting up a restriction specifically on those that affects those people, and they're not, other countries are bringing in other coaches for other sports who are doing other things. It's in this specific instance they're doing this, and it's wrong, period. I mean, we could have a debate about the nuances of COVID restrictions and all sorts of things right here, but at the end of the day, what they have done is wrong. Period, and that's it.
What I'm trying to figure out is what advisors sat down and said 1 to 33.
Stupid
Like,
ones.
yo,
Stupid
1
ones.
to 33.
Advisors.
Right.
District.
So we see, like, if you've ever been in a visually impaired classroom, because I did middle school. They said after 10 of us, like, no, that's enough. Like, you can't really handle more than that to a teacher because the needs for attentions and the needs for specifications and the needs for things are too much. 33 people.
The other thing is these are 33 people with different disabilities. It's not just
that's what makes it worse.
It's not just a bunch of blind people, because then you it's a little bit more easier because you know how to deal with this. But it's multiple and different disabilities.
You're right on that. You're right. You're absolutely right on that.
You expect one person to help this person with their wheelchair and guide this person. How the is that going to happen? How does that work?
It doesn't. Period.
It
doesn't.
You could put 30 blind people into a thing and be like, all right, everybody's going to help guide each other. You're guiding based on the other people. We're all going to do these things. Like the things that they would need assistance with.
That would be a shit show.
It absolutely would. But there is some form of management you could put there. This, on the other hand, this is people in positions of power who get to make decisions. Yeah. And this happens everywhere. For all sorts of things, who have no idea how the system works. And if you are in a position where you get to make decisions for other people and you're listening to this, really, really don't consider making changes or assume things or ask things, because you're not in that position and you have been so far out of it that you don't even know anymore.
So here's my question, right? Because this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is for the Paralympics, correct? Yes. So then my question is, how valuable does the United States consider the Paralympics?
Right.
Because if this were the U.S. Olympic Games, I'm pretty sure they would have moved heaven and earth to make sure that their best competitors would have actually been able to have all that they needed.
But yeah, the question is how many people got to come with the U.S.
Ask the U.S. soccer team, female soccer team, if they get everything that the men get.
No, they don't, because we value women and men differently too. This is a problem. Yeah. This is a problem that is in all sorts of groups, not just the disabled community, but all forms of different groups, and minorities and not.
Isn't the U.S. Olympic soccer team? Aren't they like 4 years ago? Weren't they gold medalists? Didn't they like clean up the whole thing 4 years? No. They won the World Cup, didn't they?
I don't follow this well enough to know.
The only reason why I know that is because our tight end on our football team is actually married to one of the lead, Julie Ertz, Zach Ertz and Julie Ertz. They're actually husband and wife. One's tight end for the Eagles. One she plays for the U.S. soccer team. I can't remember whether it's the World Cup for them, and they won the whole thing. Like they won the whole thing. I thought it was the Olympic team, but it's not. I'm sorry.
I mean, we started talking about like our own personal experiences. I went to public school, right?
Yeah.
And from where I'm sitting, I can still see, just barely, but the trophies that I got from the Pinewood Derby being in Cub Scouts, because my dad's an architect. He can definitely build little tiny cars. And we also had a secret that I can't tell you, but there is a way to make your cars go faster. And
it's called the way down the front. Sorry,
but it's not, and I can't say it on the air. I would tell all of you guys, but I'm not going to tell the world.
Okay, all right. That's I'm intrigued to hear.
But anyway, on those trophies that I've had basically my entire life, I put the ribbons that I got for public school track and field day on them. Right. And 90% of those, because I grew up in the 90s, are participation trophies. That's a thing. Participation ribbons. They're ribbons. Because that was a thing that our parents decided they needed to give all of us. Right. Not a decision I made. Therefore, whatever.
Yeah.
But there are a couple instances where I won races, and I look back at it now as an adult who understands what happened. And the teachers, right, in the school administration organized the groups of the people who are running in each race, right, to compete fairly, right? So because I was the one visually impaired person in the entire school that was like high functioning, like not, no mental disabilities, none of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I ran with the mental disabilities kids because they could run, but not, not perfectly.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But I also couldn't run as well as the vision kids because, I run awkward because honestly, I think I only run awkward because I'd never seen how you're supposed to run correctly.
Right.
Right. So I'm not bad. I'm just not good. Right. But so I won those races because I was being put on an unfair playing field.
Yeah.
And I know that now, and it's dumb, and it still feels dumb. I don't know where I was going with this story other than to point it out that it's a thing I acknowledge.
Don't either.
Thanks, Jason.
But I've been waiting to make a point about something, and I watched the conversation stretch so far past it and into something else. It's really hard to hold my thought from 4 minutes ago and listen to a Pinewood Derby conversation.
I know.
But what I'm saying is
Okay.
is that we need to consider the things that people need in all sorts of groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
To let people compete fairly. And so in the scenario, them not allowing enough aids to aid the wide spectrum of disabilities and those ones who are playing with different disabilities, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. That's it. It's the whole circle.
So
Okay.
there's this thing that sucks for disabled people, and it's a limiter on what we can get, and it's called reasonable accommodations. And the problem is some disabled people think reasonable accommodations are the lottery, and they can go around just shouting for anything they want and bend it into a reasonable accommodation. And what sucks is that now governing bodies have to say, fuck, if we give this to them, what does this mean for everything else? And they don't want to think about it. They think if they give them 2 people, then they're giving more than they have to. So the governing body says your reasonable accommodation is 1 person, and the other people's representatives say, okay. And there's the problem. You're right. These people deserve the assistance that they deserve, but the negotiations aren't with the people that need it. It's with the people that don't give a fuck about the people they're representing. And the governing body that doesn't want to lead the way, because they fear that if they lead the way and give you 33 assistants, you're going to want 66 next time, or you're going to want 2 for everybody. And they worry about the slippery slope of reasonable accommodations. And that sucks because the men's soccer team doesn't have to be restricted by stuff. If 1 year they want a workout center, they get it, right? And they don't have to worry about, oh, they're going to want a bigger one next time. And the women, they don't have to worry about it either. They got the same thing. When they said, we want a workout center, they said, oh shit, no problem. But if a disabled person said, we think we need an extra assistant, they're like, whoa, where does that lead to? And that's a real issue. Sorry.
So my biggest concern is, again, because whenever I hear the word reasonable, I think about the law, because everything with the law says it's all about what a reasonable person would do.
To who?
But then you have to define who is reasonable. Like, reasonable to what?
Using the reason. Who's the person using the reason? Is it Jay, the person that needs it, or some governing bureaucrat that's like, well, I got to give them the least amount possible?
Right, but even if you say, let's say, like, okay, well, reasonable, according to them, reasonable isn't 33, like 1 per assistant.
It's one.
Then why isn't, like, what isn't reasonable about at least 16? 1 per every 2.
That's the thing. The guy that represents the team didn't say, no, we want 33. And they didn't say, how about 16? And he didn't say, how about 24? And they didn't go, well, what about 8? There was no, it doesn't sound like there was a negotiation. Like,
so then it sounds like you need to replace the person who's doing the negotiation.
Right. You can't expect an athlete to be like, these are the rights I want, to the Japanese Olympic Committee, right?
Yeah.
There has to be an intermediary in there, and I think that's where the failing is, and I think that's where the change can come from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, I think I said something about this in the chat. I couldn't find the video, but I found other videos like it, but they were kind of mediocre. But one thing to also acknowledge is other countries have different laws and different things in place for people with disabilities,
which is sad too.
Which is sad, yes. The other thing is, I'm not sure to what spectrum how advanced these laws, or if any, exist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to acknowledge is what about the other Paralympic teams from other countries? Were they having the same issue?
That's a great question.
But
yeah.
we don't know
Like,
because
we don't-
our media doesn't cover it.
Right.
Was there one guy in head of the Tokyo, who's in charge of letting all the teams in, who was the one jerk who didn't negotiate with people?
Right.
And it's hard for everybody's negotiator on their side to negotiate with, like realistically, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a number of sports that the teams had to play, right?
Right.
That the U.S. represented. There's also probably a specific amount of disabilities that were actually being represented, right? And
Right.
so those categories, like we said, if you probably shoved 33 blind people into a room and one person was in charge of organizing and running the things for those 33 blind people, it's not great, but it
Right.
probably could be done,
Manageable.
right? So maybe it's 16, maybe it's 6, maybe it's
Right.
4 people were
If you're
needed.
changing 16 catheters, and you know what I mean? Then
Right, yeah,
you have
exactly.
an issue. But if it was the 4 of us, I think we could manage in a green room for 4 hours and help each other through it. You know what I mean?
Like so it's that person who's representing that team
Yes.
being responsible for knowing exactly what's actually needed. But the
Right.
reality is that person who's translating with a guy in Tokyo
Right.
probably just doesn't know.
Or doesn't care. Doesn't.
Yeah.
I think doesn't care leans closer to it.
It could be, but that's the real question, isn't it? It isn't like, yeah, I don't know. We want to blame the entirety of the Olympics when it's just one guy that made them look really bad in a world that doesn't want to assist us to begin with, because then they might have to assist us again. You know?
I remember specifically taking lots of tests in public school growing up and having what they called reasonable accommodations, which sometimes I had a reader, sometimes I had a scribe, sometimes I had all sorts of things, right? And I would get pulled to a separate room. And when people and kids started learning that I'm getting pulled to a separate room to have these accommodations, they were like, that's not fair. That's
Right.
not. But the reality is, guess what? That's a timed test.
Right.
And my vision doesn't allow me to read as quickly as you do. No matter what I do, I will never read faster than I do. Well,
Right.
I mean, I probably could get better, but that's a whole nother conversation about me. But like at that point, I can only read so fast. It is in an actual limitation of my disability. And therefore, I need either more time or somebody to read it or something to compete and get through the test in a reasonable amount of time.
Wow.
And-
dude.
and
it's
and
almost like you segued into the Instagram thing that I shared about how to explain to people that our limitation isn't a lack of wanting to or a caring about doing it. It's the fact that we hit a wall and we can't go any further without assistance, you know?
Yeah, but so when people realize that you're getting those accommodations, people get upset. They feel as if they're being mistreated, as if they're being limited. But in the reality is, guess what? Somebody reading the test to you doesn't really change the game.
No,
But here's-
not
it
when
doesn't-
you
it doesn't-
have ADHD.
but
When you have
here's why-
ADHD and you can't concentrate. Somebody reading it to you is worse, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen. Think about why people think that though, because there's not too much education on what's
Right.
happening, right? Especially as children, because I dealt with this. I had to take the SAT separately. It was
Like,
just
tell my
me
SAT story in a minute.
and in another room
Good.
by
I want to hear
myself.
this stuff. I want to
with-
hear how schools treat the disabled. I really do.
So it was me in a room by myself, not even at like a regular testing facility. It was just me in a room by myself with the SAT. I could take as many breaks as I wanted to. I could take as take as much time as I wanted to. But the belief was that they were handing me answers. I'm like, why would they hand me answers? Who? Okay, well, here's the test and here's the answer sheet, and you just fill it out. Well, if that's the case, why didn't I get a 1600? Because if all it was transferring answers, then it would have been a simple thing. But people don't understand that because we don't really tell people like this is what's going on, and
Right.
this is why. This is what happens.
No,
with-
there's no class for these kids going, okay, so Dave and Toby and Carl all got pulled to the other room. This is what
Right.
they're doing in that room. right? That no one told them what's going on in there. And then I come back with an A, right? And they got a C. And it's because they're stupider than me, not because they're
Yes.
not because I have a disabled advantage.
Because fundamentally, people think your disability makes you less than
stupid.
everything else.
Yeah.
Right.
They just fundamentally think that. How are they surviving and I'm not?
And then why are they getting pulled to this other room to get this thing? They think we're getting some sort of crazy advantage. My SAT. Let me tell you about my SAT. One, I never finished it.
Good,
Never
yeah.
happened. It doesn't. It also doesn't matter. Go to college, get your grades up, get your GPA at a good point, and they're not going to give a shit.
They're not going to give a crap.
They're
about
not. They're not going. Yeah, they're not going to care about your SAT.
The new
So
infrastructure bill offers 2 years of college for free. So go to college.
yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, your government test scores don't matter as much as people make them out to be, especially in the disabled community where those tests are completely rigged against you. To be fair, and in most cases, but that's not where we're going with this. So, basically, my only accommodation for the SAT was basically a large print test. Period. That's it. So I show up on the day to go take my SAT. And I walk in and they go, "Oh, hey, Dave." Like, pretty much the entire school board knows me. Everybody in that room knows who I am. I was a very well-known kid throughout
Of course.
I got school. I was a great
Because
kid.
they have to be nice to you.
Yeah, because I'm disabled. That's why.
Right.
Not because I produced a bunch of content that got
Right.
grants rewarded to the school. Not because I did a bunch of extracurriculars.
Right.
Not none of those stuff.
Because they could yell at anybody, but not you.
Yeah.
Yelling at you is discrimination. Parents will-
Well, somebody would told my school district that.
Yeah,
Oh,
right?
Anyway, so I come in and they're like, "Oh, hey, Dave," and then they're like, "Oh, we're gonna give you a test and you're gonna go to another room just because the lighting and stuff is better, and we're just gonna get you away from everybody else, and you're not under the same amount of pressure, right?" Which is fine.
Nice.
Yeah, I can. Those lighting was a reasonable accommodation. Believe it or not, I get a better lamp. You jack. Like,
Yep.
so I go in and I go get pulled to the other room. And they come back and they go, "Dave," and I go, "Yeah." They go, "So we have a test that says David K. Moore on it with your birthday and everything on it, but it's not a large print test." And I go, "Oh yeah," and they go, "Yeah, and we're looking into it." Turns out, David Kyle Moore, my name is David Kean Moore, born on the exact same day as me in Florida, who was also taking the SAT on the same day, got my test
Nice.
in Florida. So there was no large print test at my school.
oh.
I never got it, and I would have to reschedule to take it. I ended up taking whatever the other test is. I don't even remember, which I did not score great on.
ACT.
The ACT.
Yeah, I took the ACT and I didn't do great, and you know, moving on with my life, everything's fine.
Right.
That's a stupid test, and anybody who thinks otherwise can kiss my ass.
But you know what sucks about that is like reasonable accommodations aren't a 24-hour thing. It's like a one moment thing. Like
Oh yeah,
you know, it's not like the whole day Dave needed assistance. It's like he just needed it at that one moment.
Right.
You know, like that one thing. Just
And now you're back on your own.
right. That's all you needed to be equal.
And
I
they-
think it's really cool that they offered it, and it sucks that they messed it up, and it sucks that you had to go out of your way to make that right, you know?
yeah. I mean, so they offered me to let me take the test normally. I could have taken one of the normal tests.
Would they have read it to you though? Yeah.
I don't think my reader was there. Honestly, God, I don't think she was there. So I was already behind. Meaning, if I was to get a reader, I would have had to been put in the room with the other
Right.
kids, or they would have had to assign a reader. But the reality is, you have to be qualified to do that because you're not allowed to inflect or give any. There's all sorts of other rules. People who are not
Right.
disabled.
But you're not allowed to. Because I guess
They're
they
not
also
allowed.
meant
They're
that's
not
the
allowed to.
answer.
Yeah, they're not allowed to hint at answers. They're not allowed to give you anything. There's no.
Right.
You think that person reading the test to me in the other room is somehow cheating? In reality, they are trained to not cheat.
Right.
And
I never knew they weren't allowed to.
Oh, yeah, no, I-
did
oh, I know,
not
I
that
asked.
either.
I asked, and because and for specific stuff like SATs or the state testing or the Ohio graduation tests, all those
Yeah.
those things. I had a reader who read a lot of stuff for me all the time. Her name was Judy. She was wonderful. She helped me with all sorts of stuff at school. They wouldn't give me her for those tests because she knew me too well. It was too much of a personal connection.
So
right?
what was the assumption that she would cheat for you because she knew you?
It's basically just a way to give me someone else so that no one could say that.
Okay,
You know
so
what I
taking
mean?
that- I got it. I got it.
Not
Yeah.
not that she would
To take out the mere
the
assumption.
yeah, right. Because to be fair, once you're my vision teacher in my school district for 11 plus years,
Right.
right? You might be kind of biased to help that person in high school, considering you've been helping them since kindergarten. I think
Right.
you might be a little biased.
Plus,
Well,
that
Ohio's
read the-
special like that because Philly did not give a damn. They gave me my
she was-
itinerant teacher for my SATs. They did not care. They was like, who else are we going to use the word?
Sometimes they don't have anybody else. And to be fair, I'm probably not wrong in assuming this, Jay, so that they didn't help you. They didn't cheat.
No, not at all.
No, and not that she would have either, right? But I think just to rule out those questions, and she was the only vision teacher for the entire school district, mind you. That's
crap. That's a lot.
That's 10 elementary schools.
That's a lot.
3 middle schools.
That's a really great
and the high school, and she was the one person in charge of all the blind related inquiries. Now we had a mobility instructor who was separate, right? But she helped everybody in the district.
Nice.
Yeah, you know.
Jesus.
Wait, was this a small town or was this like?
It's a 5 mile. It's a 5 mile circle. It's like a perfect 5 mile circle, but the population's like 50,000 people. And
yeah. Wow.
And she, I think my vision teacher finally retired, and I wonder if they've actually replaced her. They just, don't get me wrong, there were tons of disability aides in other departments, other people who could help me with my sort of things, but they were helping a lot of the ADHD kids or like other people with other problems, right?
Right.
But she was the one specific to like the blind people. Here you go.
So one person for 50,000 people, and you guys are
that's
about one but you're complaining about one person for 33.
We're talking about the blind, the blind kids through K through 12 in the city of
reasonable
Lakewood, Ohio.
accommodations. One for 50,000.
Thank you for putting that in perspective for us, by the way. So the Olympic Committee gave these 33 people way too much accommodation.
Yeah, exactly.
Way too many assistants.
Going forward, next year you will get one toddler for an entire 33 people.
You wanted a full-time assistant? We're going to give you 2 interns. They don't know what disability is, but you'll teach them.
Makes it sound, there were so many aides throughout the entire school district, but specifically to blindness, she was the only one. So it just,
So my point is just we need to have more conversations all over the place about it. And that's why I love that we had tied this in, because that's why we do this show, is long form conversations, so people know we address something and then we're like, here's how it's affecting all of us, and maybe this is an idea, and then people, they're there for the math of it.
No, if you're one of my listeners from my other platforms or my other programs, right? And you don't normally hear me talk about this stuff because it's just not something I normally talk about.
Right.
Like, I want you to really think about that. Like, think about the kids who had disabilities. If you're not one of those people who were in the disabled classes, like, did you and I can see it, right? You feel that these kids are getting special treatment. You feel as if they're doing better. And and guess what? If you put me in they're not really doing better. We're just working harder. You do put me in a small group with 7 kids to read all the same material as the equivalent class that has 30 kids in it. Guess what? All 7 of us, except the really, those kids, are probably going to do better because we're getting the attention we need. That is true. Yes. Right? To deny that is that would be dumb.
And a limited class size benefits anybody, not just the disabled people.
True.
So,
I feel as that's important to point out, because you're right. I was given an advantage, right? But it wasn't like I was
given an advantage, or did it even the playing field?
That's the question, right? And like the reality is, if you would put me in that room with 30 people, I wouldn't have been able to keep up. Right? I would have never gotten through those early English classes. I never would have gotten to the point to be able to read as quick as I need to function. Right? But by the time I got to high school, by the time I was in, high school, I was on the same competing level as everyone else, playing in the exact same field, playing the exact same sports, doing the exact same things, because I needed those accommodations up until that point. Sure, my papers were the only thing that was different. I had big print books and that stuff. But no one goes, that's cheating.
Right. But you know what's
Well, I mean-
interesting is all those conversations it took before you got those accommodations, because I think that's where the country's at. Like I said, certain people think accommodations are a lottery, sighted and unsighted people, and they're not. But I think we're starting the conversation about it, and I think it's a good time to do that.
And this look, I'm definitely somebody who thinks there are a bunch of lazy kids in school who didn't do anything, because there were, right?
That's
But there were people who wanted to learn, who were struggling, who were not getting the attention they needed,
right.
And I was lucky to get that attention I needed, right? But I think everybody should be entitled to those things they need.
Yeah.
But there are shitty professors, there are shitty
again,
teachers.
You have to deal with the generational stereotype. Like, think about it. A lot of cognitive and learning disabilities were labeled as just being lazy for decades.
Right.
I mean, like, for decades. Dyslexia for a long time, for people who gave up in reading and doing well on tests. Oh, you're just lazy. You're not applying yourself. You're not working hard. And then you find out the kid has dyslexia.
It's the base system of take the resources and give it to the kids most likely to succeed.
I think one of the biggest problems with
Forever.
I'm sorry, Jason.
No, that's it.
One of the biggest problems with our society right now, right? And this is why the older generation is so upset and and is very confused about what's happening, which is we're actually talking about the problems, not just the disability problems, but like all the things, right? We didn't talk about gay people. We didn't talk about people with disabilities. We didn't talk about the kid down the street who can't talk. We didn't talk about these things because it was all just hush hush. Keep it quiet. It's not a thing. And like that's scary. I get it. It's scary. But like the reality is there are people with all sorts of things who need help, who are not any worse or don't deserve any more than anybody else.
Right.
But you got to realize something. So my mom was born in the 40s, right? So my grandmom and them were born in like the 18 or whenever.
Different mentality, right?
It's tradition not to talk about those things. It's commonplace. It's not like I don't want to. This is all we know, right? Our generation, it took Gen X. It took Gen X to start actually doing what nobody else was allowed to do, and going, Mommy, why is that guy walking with a cane? Mommy, why is that kid on the short yellow bus? Mommy, what is going on with Uncle so-and-so? It took somebody else, because again, for many things, nobody spoke up. Not because they didn't want to, but because if you were taught for generations, like my mom's generation, literally in the our family policy is not don't ask, don't tell. It's don't ask, won't tell.
Right.
As in, I
have uncles who are probably really realistically 2 generations above me, who I've never met, who I know are ill in some way. I don't know what's wrong with them.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No one will tell me.
No one will talk about it.
Why we won't talk about Uncle Larry.
Right.
No one will tell me. And so what am I supposed to do?
Family medical history is almost impossible in my family.
Oh yeah, so, the only person who knows is my one aunt, and she won't talk about it
because it's in their generation. It's taboo to talk about anybody else's business. So the problem is that we don't realize that not talking is what's actually not just killing them, but eventually killing us.
Right. How do you communicate this person's reasonable accommodation when they won't admit that they need
they even need,
right? And so all the past generations have kind of let us down by not talking about it, and so there's why we're not supposed to talk about what we need, but we're starting to, like Jay said, and that's what's really important, because past generations, they didn't know to ask for an accommodation, right? Like
there wasn't one that even existed at that.
And now they're jealous because they didn't ask for something they needed, and now the new generation is asking for it and getting it, and they're like, damn it, I could have used that the whole time.
And then think about where modern medicine was when they grew up, right?
Right.
A lot of the problems, like when I think about mental health, for example, because we learned about the history of mental health in grad school, and the things that were taught as far as this is literally what's wrong. Like a complaint, like when housewives would come in and complain about depression, it was because they weren't grateful for what they had at home that was being provided by the man,
and
instead of dealing with
cocaine.
Right. and that was mental health. That
They
was
used to
mental health.
remove hair by exposing people to X-rays. Like,
And that was health. That was
was
your
health,
health care in the 60s and 50s, right? Remember, in the 1800s or the early 1900s, what was wrong? If I came in for mental health, it was mainly because the Negro didn't have the mental capacity to deal with actual life. And
Actually,
that's why he's breaking down.
wow, it's just the opposite. If you look at Frederick Douglass, you were considered mentally unstable if you were smart and black.
Also
if
true.
you were a slave that was
Also
smart,
true.
you were considered mentally disabled, and they would beat the shit out of you until you complied.
Also true.
That's sad. See, that's what I keep trying to remind people. Like, black people, they were so mistreated. But can you imagine how that black slave disabled guy was treated?
Oh, Lord.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we came together. The first black person was also probably disabled, due to poor medical things at the time.
That or probably poor treatment.
Right. And what if that black disabled first person was also gay? You know what I mean? Like, you can't deny the fact that we all came from that,
The beatings.
the intersectionality of it all.
Literally damaging people.
Right.
And then we weren't talking about it or fixing it. We were damaging people in lots of ways.
In their mind, though, that was fixing it.
Right.
Right. So until you could convince them, hey, this wasn't working, or hey, this isn't right. Think about, there's a fine line between this and public access America. I'm trying to be careful. So
I'm trying to egg you.
so just think about medical treatment and how we learned certain things worked and who we used to learn that certain things work, right? So for them in that generation, that was medical advancements. For them in that generation, that was how things were. So for disabled people, right? Like, throw them in, take it back to blind people, throw some glasses, throw them in a cane, put them in the corner, right? For mentally disabled people, right?
Lock them away
short
in
yellow
Penhurst.
bus,
They closed down the mental institutions that used to lock us away, Penhurst, in 1970s. So up until then, we'd been locked away and beaten and our teeth pulled because we weren't shutting up, or electroshock treatment or lobotomy.
Electroshock
up
was
until
a big
1970s, people were doing this to disabled people. So yes, we've been persecuted too, but we've all been persecuted. If you're American, you've been fucked. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that anything else is, gonna happen in the future.
But here's another point of this is right, and we'll bring it back to visually impaired and blind people, right? When I was growing up in the 90s, right, there was finally like equipment and things given to me to assist me, right? But as time has gone on, literally the devices that we have in our pockets, our computers, all these things have accommodated me myself, right? But these tools have only existed for these have only been around for like 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
Right? And so like I'm accommodating myself in my day-to-day life. Those tools weren't available. Yeah. No blind or visually impaired person could have just accommodated themselves in the 80s.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like 10 years before the 80s, they were sticking a needle in your head to make you shut up because you were blind. Like, they were electroshock treating you if you were blind. They were locking you away in the 70s. In the 80s, how do you expect us to be treated like equals? And that's in my lifetime. So people think there's this distant past about messing with people with disabilities, but it just happened yesterday.
It wasn't.
You know what I mean? It just happened yesterday, and we can't expect everything to be like perfection today.
But the biggest problem that change is always, like we talked about before, the individual who doesn't want to have the conversation. Right. When we talk about the person with the reasonable accommodations, taking it back to the Olympics, you have to fight against, because in order for change to happen, you have to first see that what you have is currently inhumane. Right. You have to see what you currently have is inhumane. To not see that one assistant for 33 people is inhumane. To not see that sticking a needle in a person's head is inhumane. You have to be able to convince that conversation. And in this, which is why
this show is so important.
Agreed.
Exactly.
Because the reality is, right now in the state of this show, the four of us have only been doing this show together for only a few episodes, right? And the audience is still very, very small, right? But like in the grander scheme, if more people were to listen, the people who are not just the blind people coming from TikTok, as much as I love everybody who has come here from our various platforms and listens to us at right now, right? But it's us being open and talking about this.
Yeah.
Sharing these things helps everyone.
Yep.
Right? Because the more people who understand in the reality of what it means to be blind and how we accommodate ourselves and how we use these tools and how people treat us and all these sorts of things, they'll understand it better. And then hopefully generations from now, it's not so stigmatized. So the people who need accommodations, just get them. It's not, is it reasonable? Is it fair? Is this person at an advantage other than for me?
Right.
Like, no, none of that matters.
Well, let's normalize it in real time, make this a moment, and then push forward from a good spot.
Right. Everybody is entitled to a happy existence.
Yes.
That's it. No, we're not saying as people, and we're in this, I hate to call it this because I don't know where it's really going, but like a workers' revolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're on this cusp of people realizing like how they want to be treated. And the reality is everyone deserves to be treated fairly.
Right.
Everyone deserves to be happy and healthy.
Like they could be somebody, right?
Right.
Like they can learn and grow
and
become even a better person than they were today.
But there's one hard thing that okay, I'm just gonna cross that line.
Let's do it, Jay. Let's go.
You have to actually get them to acknowledge that you are a person.
Yes.
And that's where we are. That's the piece that's missing. Because when you talk about when you hear the dialogue about individuals with disabilities, it's always as if they're talking about that underlying thing. That is an inconvenience, not that person who wants to do, right? Because when they talk about things like Social Security for disabled individuals, when they talk about things like accommodations for individuals, when they talk about things like when we talked about audio descriptions, if you ever listen to some of the justifications for why some of these companies won't do it, it's always about a thing. It's never about the people. You have to actually get them to acknowledge you as a person.
Right.
And they have not done that yet. The Americans with Disabilities, if it were so, things in the Americans with Disabilities Act would be taken a lot more seriously than they are.
We need to restore, improve.
And they're not.
5 years ago, the Senate gutted it for Donald Trump. We need to restore and improve it. Joe Biden said, people with long haulers should be covered by the ADA. And I was like, fuck, Joe, handicapped people aren't even covered by the ADA anymore. You know what I mean?
No one takes into consideration anything in how it affects any group of people ever. This doesn't just apply to disabilities,
right?
But in this conversation we're having, right?
Yeah.
But like I'm gonna go back to it because I have to get on it all the time. I have to get on that goddamn bus to go to the world, to exist in the world, because it's my only freaking choice, right? But guess what? Cleveland's bus system decides to just change their schedules, get rid of buses, remove routes, do all sorts of things. But they didn't think about the 25 people who needed to take that one bus at that one time to work.
Right.
Because you are a minority.
Because everybody who rides the bus is poverty, minority. Who cares? Who cares about people?
And that's the problem.
And that's the problem. And that's why something like this show, where we're having a voice, right? And the more people who listen to us, and the more people who give a shit about what Dave Moore on the internet says,
right?
Is, it helps. But we need to keep talking about it. We need to keep teaching people. People need to keep learning. Some people seem to think that you stop learning in kindergarten, because that's where the intelligence level seems to stop with a lot of people I interact with.
I think it's more important that what we're saying is for those people that know somebody that's blind, and it's almost like a sneak peek. Like, how do I treat this blind friend that I have? I don't want to ask them and insult them. So they can come here and listen and go, oh, that might have insulted them. Or, oh, I could do that. And then they can get ahead of the game.
But the reality is, in that conversation, I'm sorry, Jay, but I'm going to say this is we go back to the personal thing, right? Every individual human being on this planet, regardless of disability, race, or minority status, whatever, is a human being and has feelings and is different than every other single one you'll interact with.
Yes.
And so, like, sure, you can take my opinion
And
about how I
do is to spoon feed that very fact to you. The next 400 episodes we do is just to say what Dave just said right now.
That's basically the premise of the entire show. That is the premise of the entire show.
And we hope to bring other people on to prove that fact.
This is why, Jason, we got to get you 1,000 followers on TikTok. Because I honestly feel like this conversation, and kind of today's random TikTok thing. This is why I feel like this show should exist on TikTok, because you can gather an audience in a much larger fashion, faster on TikTok. Now, granted,
Jay,
the show might get banned for nudity and harassment.
Sure will. Definitely. We're talking about people being treated correctly, Jay. It's absolutely nudity.
It's going to get banned for nudity and sexual acts, but
I would rather find an app that suited this better than try and retrofit TikTok into doing
I wouldn't. I'm not saying it like let's do this show exclusively on TikTok.
No,
but
I'm saying
like
TikTok doesn't give a shit about what we're saying and never will, but I bet you there's an app that does. You know?
So
it's Parlor. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I had to
to
say it out loud. I'm sorry. That was a dumbass joke. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Cam models took over Parlor. Remember that? Like all the cam models were like, "Screw you, racists. We're taking back our hashtag," and they put the racists off Parlor. It was a great moment. Sorry.
I did not see that.
I didn't see that either.
But what if? And again,
what have I seen?
You know what? This is really.
Sorry, it was too easy.
But this is probably an after show thing, but I think for those of us that have Streamlabs, we should probably do this show across multiple platforms at the same time.
I agree.
Like
I'm working
Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, here YouTube, and mainly because not only can you grab audiences that. And the reason why I said TikTok is because TikTok is one of the fastest ways to grow an audience, period. Even though you're going to get the good with the bad, but I feel like a lot of people would share. I think this would actually draw larger attention, because this isn't just talking about, I hate it when they do this. Right. This is really like hitting the no. Let's address the conversations you can't have in a minute and a half.
And remember, when you're having a discussion, you have to think about how other people are approaching it. Like with the Olympics, right? We're like, we hate you, Olympics, and then suddenly it's like, maybe a guy didn't do his job very well.
But
like,
I like that.
Right?
I like that though, because
that's
the full part of. That's a full conversation. It's not just the entire. It's not just everyone jumping on.
It's
one
not
bandwagon.
blame hating, right?
Right.
No, it's not because look, somebody clearly at the Olympics made a poor decision that affected 33 very important athletes, right?
Right.
But that's
because I'm in a position where I have my own personal biases of people with disabilities. It's easy for me to jump and say, "Fuck you! You screwed it up. You should have helped these fucking people." Like I could sit here and do that, but the reality is, no. Please, hey. Let's talk. Let's figure out what went wrong.
Let's take a step back for a second.
Because something went wrong, and it might be one jerk, and we need to just get rid of him.
But here's the thing: it's like a lot of people, because this is so new, they don't know. Like, and we don't know that they don't know. So we go up to them and we're like, "Why didn't you do that?" And they're like, "I didn't even know I was supposed to. I will."
Yeah.
You know. So we have to start the conversation with, "Would you please?" And eventually, as a group, 38 million voting disabled people are going to be like, do it. And, you know, and it's starting to happen, but we need to be a voice all over. And yeah, sighted people with other disabilities, they can't assume that we're all separate. We're all in this together. We're all in this together, disabled people.
Yeah.
People with muscular dystrophy, people with Tourette's, people with a stutter, Joe Biden. We're all in this together, and we need to figure that out so we can do things for each other. Nobody wants to hate somebody. They want to help them if they could. They just don't know that the help we need is so simple to give us. They just haven't listened to us yet. They've been listening to everybody else, but now it's time to listen to us too, as well. You know, please, Joe Biden, please.
But when you were talking about the the being able to say no, not
Mhm.
because we don't want to. Okay. So I'm today I'm struggling because I'm using the computer for the blind and I have JAWS on, and it
Oh,
literally
nice.
just told me Dave left the meeting.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
same.
Dave left, yeah.
wait, I'm like, Dave?
Dave, we got Dave mad with too much political talk, you know? No, it's not political. It's just, it's person. You have to assume like nobody's trying to be a dick to you and then wait for them to be a dick to you. And then they realize that they're being a dick to you. You know,
Hopefully.
everybody wants a reason to be a dick to you, and that's what they're looking for. So if Ezrick goes up to some guy in the corner and goes, "Get the fuck out of my way," the guy's gonna be like, "Fuck you." But if Ezrick goes up to that same guy and goes, "Hey, how you doing? Do you mind stepping aside for me?" There's more of a chance he'll get it. Not always, but more of a chance.
Flies with
Mhm.
honey than vinegar is pretty much it.
Yep.
And then,
Right.
and then
Yep.
if the guy gives him a hard time after he's nice, then Ezrick shows up with 3 friends and goes, "Fuck you," you know. Like, but you got to start like. You got to start assuming people don't know, you know, because I'll
Yep.
tell you, there's accommodations for disabilities that I don't get. I don't know. I didn't know I should have, you know, and
Yeah,
I
but
don't want as somebody that needs captions on photos yelling at me like that. I want them to be like, "Hey, can I help you do this?"
Yeah.
Because it will help other people. So I don't want to yell at people because I don't want them yelling at me, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And that's really the thing, starting off with a conversation instead of
Yeah.
starting off in anger. Because when you
Right.
start yelling, like even in a relationship, when you start yelling, if you're
Yeah.
yelling and they're yelling, ultimately you both could be
Right.
making very valid points, but nobody's being heard. And when
Right.
nobody's being heard, nothing is getting done. So if
Right.
you can find somewhere to at least start the conversation, then that's a good thing. Which, speaking of which, like I'm trying to segue into that, like the whole like saying no, not because you don't want to, but because you can't.
Right.
Many people, I feel like in that instance, don't understand why. Because that's usually when you say no, that's when the yelling begins. Metaphorically speaking, that's where the yelling begins.
The consequences happen, right?
Right.
Well, if you're
Like,
not going to help me, then I'm not going to help you. If you
yeah.
don't want to help me, then you're being an asshole, and I
Right. You're being mean, and
now
after
I'm
all
going
the
to
times
actively attack you, right?
right. So after all the times I've helped you, now you can't help me. No, it's not
Right.
that I don't want to. It's because I can't. And
Right.
one of the questions I had when we were talking, when I seen that was, is the reason why people wonder why not is because in the past we have bent over to our own detriment
Yes.
to try to help.
Yes.
Like, is it a thing where the only reason why they keep asking is because despite your limitations in the past, you've tried to help before. You've tried to, at the risk of your own sight. Like this week, for example, I had to do some paperwork. And I remember, and ladies and gentlemen, Dave is back.
Thank you for listening to Inspirations Beyond Disabilities with Dave Moore. We are going to hear more from Jay.
He has left.
Okay.
I didn't know there was a waiting room. Like I'm learning all sorts of new things about Zoom right now.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there was a bunch of Nazis that were taking over public Zooms and just, yeah. So Zoom initiated a waiting room mandatory thing.
oh, that is awesome. So you can't just like pop in and be like, and say whatever you want and then leave.
Right,
Nice.
right.
Nice. But I was doing paperwork this week, and I remember always wanting to help other people like do their work when my vision used to be a little bit better, and it would like be severe eye strain, like it would hurt. But me trying to be a helpful person, knowing I probably shouldn't be doing this, did it anyway, and to my own detriment. So when people ask now, when it's just like, I can't, I'm sorry, I can't do this.
Right.
You know, people kind of go, well, why not? Well, why can't you do this? You know, you used to be able to do this. Yes, underline the word used to.
Used to.
I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to help in this manner. I used to be able to do things somewhat in the dark for you, but now I can't.
And don't forget, like from the other point of view, that person asking you you're their last resort. You're the disabled guy. Nobody wants to ask you to begin with. So if they're coming to you, they have no other option.
Sometimes.
Jason, don't get me started.
They're going to be
careful
angry.
where this goes.
Wait, the anger, they have anger, but it's not at you, it's at the situation. But they're going to take it out on you, you know.
Sometimes you're the last person to ask. Sometimes you're the first person, because you could be the person that's been reliable from the jump.
That's true. That's true.
Right. That's usually been my experience. I've been a lot of go-tos for a lot of people for a long time.
Then you're the one that they count on, and now they can't count on you.
And now they can't count on me in that aspect.
Yeah.
And that's usually where the frustration comes in at, is that you were the person we relied on for this thing. You were the person that could do this thing.
Why
And
can't
instead
you
of
suffer for me? Why can't you suffer for me is kind of what I always get out of it.
Mm.
You know? Like, because mine, when I brought it up, it was in relation to a party. Like, I don't like parties for 40 reasons. And so I say the simple version of, I don't like parties. And people are like, can't you just suffer for me? And I'm like, no, it's not that. It's the trying to find the bathroom with 50 people in your way.
Right,
It's
who
trying
won't
to
move.
hold a cup with no lid, and not spill and be
Right.
the joke. It's like you're serving me ribs and there's nowhere to sit, or you give me the white couch type thing.
Oh,
And it's all
yeah.
that stuff. And then that's why I don't like parties. You know what I mean? And so I just say I don't like parties, and people are like, "Can't you just suffer through?" And I'm like, I don't want to, but
Even the sentence, again, this is the therapist in me now.
yeah,
So even the sentence, can't you suffer through?
right,
If you were my friend, why would you want me to suffer?
right.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the argument should be. I should be like, "Oh, I want to," and they should be like, "You're gonna suffer too much. I don't want you to." Instead of, "I don't want to." You should want to. It should be the other way around, right?
Right. You would think so.
You would hope so. That's how you know a friend, I guess.
Sorry for my scheduled Spectrum outage. Let's just throw shade at Spectrum
Bum,
because
bum, bum.
every single time, only during this show, does it have to go out for a
Oh,
second.
right.
Hi, Siri
Sorry, that's my watch.
or Google.
Love it. Hey, Google.
Don't say that.
Hi, I'm Siri.
Hey.
Think you've got
Thanks.
All of our devices are going. There was a podcast I heard, and it was like, "Hey Google, play the latest episode of," and all of a sudden it started playing on all my devices. I was like, "Damn it!"
That's something that they need to work on, honestly, because I think when you say it, like Alexa, it starts to trigger like every Alexa device in.
You just did it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So what I like to do is I like to relate things to tools in the toolbox. Like, everyone is a tool, right? We can use them in the way that they're best useful to us,
Yeah.
And so what I like to say to people is like, you need a hammer and I'm a screwdriver, or you need a wrench and I'm, I don't know, a zip tie. Like, I don't match
He
the
said a
need.
zip.
I don't match the need that you have right now.
Right.
That's the way I look at it rationally. Like, I wouldn't ask a deaf person to stop traffic for me. You know
Or
what I mean?
mix my CD.
Right, but I might ask them to cook me dinner because they're more visual than I am.
More,
So,
yeah.
yeah, you know
That's
what I mean?
that's it. But the thing about it is that when people feel like you can take a screwdriver and hammer a nail into a wall,
Right. Suffer.
right? It's your suffering, but according to them, their need got met. That nail is in the wall, but that screwdriver, the head of that screwdriver is now cracked,
Right.
right? So the question really is can you see how much this is damaging me? Can you see how much this is hurting me,
And
right?
should you
That comes
care?
to the person, that comes to the aspect of who you're dealing with, because everyone who asks you something is not a person that ever considers your best interest, right? You have those people that you have in your life who their only thought is of them,
Right.
So because you have that person whose thought is only of them, it doesn't really matter whether it cracks you as a screwdriver. It doesn't really matter if you are no more good for anything else for the rest of that day.
That's
Right.
right.
It's just about that need being met. And
And
that's
you
why I
wanna hear-
always say that at some point, explanations have to stop and you have to accept my no as a complete sentence.
And you want to hear something funny?
Hmm.
That doing it and hurting yourself is equal to not doing it and them finding somebody else, whoever's next on the list,
Right.
So I learned to say no initially, but if they come back, maybe they need me a little more and I'll start considering it more if they're a good person and a friend. But yeah, there's a balance. There's a balance that I think, because we need help with things, that we try and keep things balanced and help others.
Right.
I like to pre-help people to lube the system, and then they know I'm not a jerk that just takes advantage, and so there's a lot of things that we have to consider that people don't realize we consider,
Everybody is good at something.
Yeah.
Using the tool for the correct purpose
Yeah.
isn't a problem. It's when you take advantage of the wrong tools for the wrong jobs.
Right.
And you need
I
to
like that.
remember that every single human being, I'm going to go back.
I am
once
so sorry.
again.
Yeah.
deserves
Gotta love New York City.
to be treated fairly and used
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah.
Right.
And put back when done. Like don't say, "Hey, I'm going to need your help," and then 8 hours later go, "Well, I forgot." You know what I mean? If you need my help, don't leave me hanging, you know? Let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I hate being paused in position. Last week I put off, like I said, that recording our after show, you know, to help a friend, and they never showed up. You know, and I was like,
Paused in position is the story of my life.
Paused in position is the story of my life. And I think you just named the title of the episode.
Paused in position.
Paused
Yeah,
in
because
position.
for so many things, there are so many things about this episode that were about paused in position.
Yeah.
Right. Needing accessibility, but not quite getting it.
Yeah.
Needing to have the conversation about certain things and not being able to have that conversation. You're stuck in neutral until, you can get what you need. Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, I think I've mentioned this on the program before. It's the reason I accommodate myself completely is by the time I got to college, there was no accommodating me.
Right.
Yeah.
They weren't going to.
Yeah.
They were never going to get me my assignments in time. They were never going to get me large print. They were never going to do any of that thing relatively reasonably.
But see,
Hopefully the guy that came after you got a little more help than you did. That's what I
probably.
hope.
Yeah,
But
that's
the thing
always
about
ends up
college
like
is
that.
except they didn't because I never went back to that office. I would get my letter that says this person needs a reasonable accommodations for an unspecified disability, which this is really helpful to give to professors. This person's disabled in some way. We're not going to tell you how or why or what they need or anything.
the guess is totally yours.
Just assume they need something, and then you're like, all right, send all their work to this office, and we'll make all their large print and all their other things. And then they never did any of that in time. And so basically, it was like, I guess I'll just do it myself.
But here's why, though, because the thing about college, is that especially when you're dealing with professors and tenure, right? These teachers that really can't get let go of for too much because they've been there entirely too long. They don't really feel the need to actually address your concern because, again, you're one person and how you may not even make it through this class. So why should I bend over to a person that they're assuming? And
I will say this. My professors throughout college were usually more accommodating than the actual office that was completely dedicated to accommodating people with disabilities.
Oh, that's how my grad school is right now. But in undergrad, I had quite a few teachers that felt like their PhDs meant that they were experts in every field, including disability.
This sounds like a great thing for next episode.
Yeah,
Can I
next
get you
week
guys
on
to-
Inspirations Beyond.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Hey, Ezrick, did you have anything that you wanted to say in wrap up? Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Jay. We're like 4 minutes past.
Oh, sorry. Okay, got it.
But I love you, and we can keep talking on the live stream. But as far as the podcast recording, I wanted to kind of wrap that one up. But then we can keep talking, and I'll leave the live stream going.
Got it.
So, Ezra,
I really don't remember anymore.
what are you left with after this discussion? You know what I mean?
Where can people find you?
Ezrick's too high to the focus, apparently.
Oh no, I am not too high to focus. It's not
I
even
love
that.
it.
I just like my
How are we going
ADHD
to get
is
listeners
kicking
to
in.
pay attention to us if our own hosts won't?
It's not that I can't pay attention. It's just like once a thought process goes, it's like it's gone.
Yeah, you're like me, right? You're trying to hold
Yeah,
on to a thought
trying
you
to
had
hold
a half
on to
hour
it.
ago,
It's
right?
like
Yeah.
holding it, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So you can find Ezrick at Blind in NY. I think that's right. I think
Oh, he
New
finally
York's
got it
fine.
right.
You got it.
with a bunch of underscores, you're gonna have a hard time
Blind
finding.
_in_NY.
And then of course, you can find our wonderful podcast network host Jason at the Public Access America, Jay at the Blind.
No, you can't.
The
You can find me
baritone blurred.
at the
I'm-
baritone.
The baritone blurred, or
The baritone blurred, or the blind guy named Jay.
No,
Uh,
I
have to go
literally
grab that
just,
trademark
I
real quick.
type in J, and that's who I get.
Look, I was just trying to help you, Ezra. It's just this is your fault. I'm blaming you for it. Of course, you can find me at Tell You Dave on every social media platform. Of course, if you want more of my dumb face and you want to be hungry, come to the Snack Network and watch me try foods and drinks.
If you got the munchies, it's a bad idea unless you have DoorDash or Instacart. You know what I mean? If you got one of those
and
apps,
Instacart and DoorDash money.
Right.
That's the real.
Yeah. Better be careful going over there. We're gonna try Mountain Dew Cake Smash this week.
I'm sorry. What Mountain Dew? What?
I just saw that. Cake Smash.
Cake
the new flavor.
Cake Smash Mountain Dew.
It's supposed to taste like cake. Oh yeah.
Thank you for
I'm done
listening
with
to
Goodbye.
the Disabilities. We are off. Goodbye. All right. The live stream continues, though.
Yes, it's Mountain Dew that tastes like cake. You had to special order it from Mountain Dew.
That is those are things I should never know about. Okay. I'm telling you, they're like when random flavors just come. Like I remember when somebody told me about Fruit Loops Pop Tarts. I was watching a Twitch stream. Somebody told me about Fruit Loops.
Oh, I have a video. We did that.
Literally got up and left the house to go get some Fruit Loop Pop Tarts. Man. Yeah.
I made the mistake of getting Fruity Pebbles coffee creamer, and it was like all of the green Fruity Pebbles. That's what it tasted like.
Oh my god,
it was disgusting, but I had to get it.
You know what's funny? So every now and again when I go to Philly, my fat ass has to go to Reading Terminal Market, get myself some Amish donuts, right?
So the bottom half is dad body. I've been trying to figure it out since the beginning of the show. Is Ezrick's top half dad bod or the bottom half? And now we know his fat ass is a bottom.
No. It's actually the other way around. It's the other way around.
I gotcha.
But can't go wrong in Reading Terminal though.
No, but I always have to get like these caramel apple donuts that just like, oh my god, they hit different.
Oh yeah.
And it's like every time I leave there, somebody else behind me is ordering something that I'm like, fuck, I should have gotten that too.
Right?
Bro, that's Reading Terminal though. That's why you go there sparingly. If you are trying to lose weight, do not go to Reading Terminal or anything at all. Just know it's there and it will be there when you're done weight loss.
She was like, "This is overwhelming." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm hungry, so let's go."
Have you not seen the population of the city of Philadelphia? We are heavy for a reason. We are heavy for a reason.
Right? I'm from the Midwest. We invented pear-shaped.
Yo, listen. I always tell people I am in shape because round is a shape. Sure. Don't worry about how I got this way. I am just in shape. But that's big cities though in general. Like big cities, when you go there, man, like the food that you can come across. I'll tell you one of the worst places to go to is Dallas. Dallas, literally, I kid you not, if you go into the main part of Dallas, there's like a restaurant every 2 corners. And I mean, like, they're like, you ever seen gas stations on 4 different corners? Now imagine that as restaurants.
That's my neighborhood, actually.
Imagine that as restaurants.
Yeah.
And then there's a gym somewhere up the street. And that's pretty much how it's set. Like those big cities, man.
I'm right in the corner of like Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, and I'm gonna tell you, like, there is soul food kitchens and Creole kitchens.
Oh, don't tell me this. So you're gonna make me want to go.
Like real shit, you know.
I put the Fruit Loop Pop Tart video in the chat on Instagram.
I went to the gas station and got real Mexican burritos. Like, I have some real amazing, like, authentic food, but I don't have a lot of chain stores, you know.
Well, the chain stores are okay when you want them. Like, there's, like Ezrick could tell you, you can get chain pizza in Philly and New York, but the best pizza is always the mom and pop ones. It's always what we call hood pizza. Like that stuff is.
It's never the same twice, but it's always good.
Never, never ever. It is. And God forbid if they go under new management.
It's oh my God, That just happened to one of my favorite pizza spots.
New management? That means it's about to taste way worse than it used to.
It already did. I asked for a margarita slice, and they gave me a plain slice with basil on top. I was like, what the Like, bro, no. You're fucking up. You're fucking up.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. But it's the authentic places, the mom and pop ones, the one of a kind stores. Those are the ones that you will guarantee yourself to gain weight quickly. The chain stores you can do every now and again. It's like, I got a taste for Domino's. I got a taste for Pizza Hut. You know, I may have a taste for. I remember when Five Guys used to be rare.
Oh my God, I love
Five Guys when they used to be rare. Man, their food was incredible. Now it's just
Yeah.
I agree, but I still love Five Guys. I have
Is
a
it the
video of me
bag of-
trying.
The
Somebody
bag
told me
of
to.
fries place.
Yeah, where they dump the whole cup into the bag and then they fill the cup again and then they put it in the bag. I what was I get? Oh, somebody told me I should put bacon in a milkshake from
Yep.
Five Guys, so I did that. That video is going up soon.
No, I did that at Red Robin actually. I was like, I want a
Getting
chocolate
so
bacon
hungry now. I'm
milkshake.
about to go
And
get
they were
myself a
like, you
chocolate
want
cheese.
a bacon chocolate milkshake? And I was like, yeah. All they did was like over fry the bacon and break it up in there. It was so bad.
I thought it was okay. It just added a little bit of saltiness, but I put it in a peanut butter banana milkshake.
I've never had Red Robin beer.
But was it the bacon flavor or was
No,
it
it was
just
little bacon bits, but they
Little
weren't
bacon bits,
burned. They weren't burned.
Yeah,
They were at
okay.
least correct.
Okay.
I
don't mind the flavors together. Like I had chocolate covered bacon and I was like, that's great.
What?
Like always bacon.
Okay.
Always chocolate covered.
That is
bacon.
Homer Simpson levels of
I don't think I think I've seen that. I've never
butter.
had it.
Like, right, Dave? We deep fry butter, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Oh, I've seen that. See, if you ever go to the Texas Fair, they deep fry everything.
You can
Yeah,
get
I'm
deep
telling you.
fried ice cream. You can get
Oh
deep
yeah,
fried.
I've had it.
Yeah.
It's great.
If you've never had deep fried Oreos, you've never had a real Oreo.
Oh
I'm
my
telling
God.
you,
Exactly.
deep
Oh my
fried
God.
Oreos.
Yup.
Yeah, your heart will definitely pay for the price, but I'm telling you, your mouth will enjoy it before you have the heart.
You know what? You know what's even better? Deep fried Twinkies. Sorry.
Ooh, there you go.
Twinkies
Sorry.
suck. I hate Twinkies.
No. When they're deep fried, it's different. It's
a different
different.
thing. Okay.
It's
I don't mind that.
different.
Okay.
I
Like,
go back to my childhood and I taste them and I'm like, yeah, I remember about the crappy food from the 70s. You know what I mean? Before everything had a health angle to it. You know what I mean?
Do you remember? Have you ever seen the Flintstones, like the large, like drumstick, like type chicken that they would have? Yeah, in the state fair, they made that a thing. They
Right,
made that
turkey
a
legs,
real
right?
thing. It's a turkey wing that is that
Yeah.
big, and I'm like, "Hey, what turkey is that off of?" And B, can I get 2 of those? Like,
Right.
it was fantastic.
Yeah. Where's the rest of the turkey?
Where's the rest of the turkey?
Back in prehistoric times?
That's fine. I don't care how you end up getting it, so long as it's real meat. And it's that thing was good.
he was
Right.
pumped full of steroids. I assure you that.
Steroids, man. His steroids had steroids the size of that bird, but it was good.
Yes.
It was good. It was good.
You know what's crazy out here? I keep seeing it on TikTok. There's this deli that you can go in and ask for like almost anything, and this guy will make it.
That's
Legitimately, I've seen him do like a burger on a Pop-Tart, a chopped cheese sandwich on
awesome.
a beef
saw
patty.
that.
And
I've heard
every
of that.
time I've
I-
seen
I-
it, I'm like, bro, I want to go. And I keep telling my friends, and they're like, bro, that seems like too much. I know, but let's just.
Dude,
let's
one
just-
of
you gotta live.
the one of the
You
best
only live
burgers.
once.
One of the best burgers I ever had was called a Luther, and they put a donut on it. It was a donut burger. It was 2 glazed
I've
donuts.
heard of that. 2 glazed
smacked
donuts
with-
in a burger.
Yeah, and it
Really?
had some
Yes.
bacon, 2 glazed donuts. Oh my god, it was so good. It
Really?
was so good.
Wow.
It sounds so wrong. It sounds so
But-
wrong.
Probably tastes so freaking good.
It was so
Yeah.
good.
You know what? That's it. I'm making it a move. Me and one of my friends are going to this deli, and we
Yeah.
have to film it because like my fat ass.
I
wants some.
expect a bunch of TikTok style videos for the Snack Network, Ezrick. I expect them to be
Right.
delivered to me and via message, and then I can upload them to the Snack Network.
Okay, I will. You know what? I will get her. I will get this friend to make this happen because oh my
I
god,
love it.
Oof.
Hey, this is Ezrick the Entertainer coming to you from the Snack Network. I'm about to get fatter.
I'm about to I'm about to
Love
change the shape of my dad bod to be the entire thing.
Right.
Man.
Get rid of my chicken legs.
Then I'll do one for my dinner. How about that? This is Jason from the Snack Network, and I'm eating another salad. Well, when people don't understand when you're an adult, you have to buy like 3 heads of romaine lettuce. You can't just buy one, and then all of a sudden you're stuck eating salad all week because it's there and it's going bad.
Man.
So
That's why I don't eat salads because
And
it goes bad. I waste the salad. I never can
they're
eat
so
it all.
great. I
love salads. I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
I make
If I buy
salad
all the
bar
stuff,
salads.
it goes bad. I just can't.
Yeah.
For me,
I
a
love
salad has to have at least a really good pairing of some sort of source of protein. Like there has to be meat.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
there has to be meat.
Oh yeah, like grilled
Or
chicken
I'm not there. I'm not there. Like
we went to this. We were out in we were out at Myrtle Beach, and we went to the seafood place, and everybody's like, "Yeah, man, it's the greatest seafood place ever." But I just don't love seafood. It's not my favorite thing in the world.
Right.
And I'm just gonna get a salad, and they had a blackened chicken salad. Let me tell you, this was the best blackened chicken salad I've ever had in my entire life. Oh, and it was just from this seafood restaurant. So good. Let's just talk about food, guys. I just want to talk about food. This is what my new job is going to be. Is just talking about food.
Under the screen is like, I walked in and everyone's a tool. I'm just reading the comments now.
oh dear Jesus.
They said they walked in and what?
Everyone is a tool because he was talking
yeah.
about the screwdriver and the
Yeah, well, they probably missed they probably missed that conversation and then got me saying, you know how everyone's a tool and they're meant to be used.
Right. It's called context, people.
Yeah.
But I will clip that out and make Dave look awfully embarrassed. And
I love this. Just turn me into Starbucks drinks. Let's just go.
No.
Stop.
You know what?
We need to quit.
You know what? No.
Speaking of which, speaking of that, I talked to Shy and Shy.
I think we're still live.
We are, but
Still on YouTube.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna unlive because I'm gonna try and get some promotion recordings.
Oh yeah, we got to do promotion.
We're gonna keep talking, but I'm gonna unlive so that we can talk to each other about business.
Love you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here.
Bye.
That's a fact. One love.
one love.
Yo, don't judge.
To Jamaica.
That guy's